What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Party on Broad. The Sixers get the number 3 pick, but we're talking birds, as we always do. We are tier ranking every position on the Philadelphia Eagles. And doing so, we're going to talk top training camp battles to watch and kind of narrow pinpoint some of the more fun battles as we get ready for training camp, which is a couple of months away. Joining us, Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's up, Ryan?
Not much. Glad to be talking some birds. And I am already super excited about the schedule, which is already starting to leak for Wednesday. Can't wait.
Yeah, some games have been released. Maybe we'll touch on that at the end of the show. Also joining us, Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. What's up, Rob?
Unlike Ryan, I'm 4 for 4, so I'm excited that the Sixers got the 3rd pick. But what I'm even more excited about is that Jerry Jones has to sit in a box in Game 1 and watch the Eagles unveil their 2nd Super Bowl banner while he has not been to the conference championship game since before Jalen Hurts was born. That right there, my friends, is must-see television.
And then last but not least, special guest, my man, Eagles Eric. Make sure you check out the Edge on Eagles Pinpool, our sister network here. What's up, Eric?
How's it going? I'm excited to be here. I love chopping it up with you guys. So I have a Moro Ajomo film breakdown coming, so stay tuned. I think people are going to be stunned. This guy is a real baller. I don't want to give too much away, but a little teaser there.
Little Milton Williams clone. Your one on Keely Ringo was sensational.
Yeah,
Make sure you go check that out.
Love that.
Last week, Eric broke down Keely Ringo, the ups, the downs, and projections. So that was such a good job, Eric. You crushed that one, man.
Oh, sweet. Thanks. I mean, that was really my first time doing it. So I hope to just build on that with the Jomo. And I have like double the clip. So get ready.
True.
Yeah, he's nasty, man. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take an in-depth look at the Eagles depth chart. And we're going to rank these positions from S to F. So if you're watching us live, we have not ranked these positions yet. They're not D's and they're not F's. We're going to start with S. I'll go to you, Eric. Do the Eagles have a position group that is S tier for you?
Yes, they do. It's tackle. You're talking about one of the best tackle pairings in NFL history. And I understand that sounds like hyperbole, but just evaluating him, you're talking about a Hall of Famer and an All-Pro runner, pass game. They're both dominant in all facets, can match up against any type of edge rusher. Highly smart players, high football IQ. So this is the easiest S tier of all time.
Yeah. Offensive tackle. Do you agree or disagree, Ryan?
Yeah, no, that's it's an easy S tier. Lane Johnson is an institution at right tackle. Jordan Mailata is one of the most likable human beings in all of history. And he's also a damn fine left tackle. So this is the easiest S tier we've ever given out.
Marshawn times on the NBA is rigged. What about you, Rob? Agree or disagree?
Yeah, you got to agree. Your starters are there. You've got some young guys that you're hoping they build up over the next couple years in the draft picks. This one, as Eagle Eric and as our boy Ryan has said, it's a pretty easy S tier.
There's some fun ones. I see Miles Hinton ranked before Holland Pierce. I somewhat disagree with that. I think Holland Pierce will overtake Miles Hinton by the end of training camp. There's some other guys that I think Kendall Lamb is a pretty interesting depth piece. He's a guy that played a little bit at right tackle. Maybe he's kind of the new swing tackle for the Eagles going forward. You got Cameron Williams, who I think most likely projects on the interior. That's just me. But what are your thoughts on some of these other depth guys? Because there's also guys like Darian Kennard, who is under team control, has some upside, is a little younger than a Matt Pryor and Eagles. Eric, any thoughts on the depth at tackle?
Yeah, it's a little bit unknown, and this is something Howie preached in the offseason last year is for those backup roles, they just want great competition. So that's why they brought in a lot of bodies, a lot of guys that are moldable and you just are taking advantage of one of the best offensive line coaches ever. So I'm not going to make any declarations about which player is specifically going to win the job. I actually like Hinton to win the job over Pierce. So there's a little bragging rights on the line there. But yeah, it's solid. It's solid because we have that offensive line coach. If you just had a run of the mill guy, you would be worried because like after those top guys, you have a bunch of raw big guys, and that has a big spectrum of outcomes.
Yep. Any other thoughts on the depth?
Yeah, I like it, honestly. I think there's a lot of unknown, as Eric said, but again, I think there's a lot of potential in that unknown. And I'm very excited to kind of see how the Holland Pierces of the world, Hinton, even Lakin, as well there, and just kind of see where they are and how close they are to the starters. So yeah, I like it, and I think we have the veterans to jump in when needed. Somebody like a Kendall Lamb. Somebody like Matt Pryor who can kind of play anywhere, really. So yeah, I'm okay if somebody goes down. Obviously, it's terrible, but again, I like the mix of youth, potential, and veteran.
Yeah, Kendall Lamb's a guy that I'm going to have my eye on for training camp. He's coming off season-ending back injury late last season, but his numbers were really solid with the Dolphins. 512 offensive snaps. He had just one penalty. He gave up 0 sacks on 336 pass blocking snaps. Just 12 total pressures. So he could be that guy. We'll see. Let's on back to our tier maker. I'll throw it to you, Rob, next. Do you have any other positions for the Birds that are S tier?
I mean, I have one that people may say they're not deep necessarily there. They're a lot unknown. But when you have Saquon Barkley as your running back, it's very hard for me not to put the running back position in the S tier after what he did last year. Not to mention you get a back that, yes, there's injury history, but as a backup, A.J. Dillon has had some good games, has had some good moments in his career. Will Shipley was squatting over 500 pounds as they were releasing squat videos last week. So he's a bear. And a couple of undrafted free agent guys will be interesting to watch in that running back room too. But at the end of the day, right, we talked about the offensive tackle, the 2 starters were stalwarts. Your running back is maybe the best running back in the game. So I feel like that position has to be put in the S tier.
All right. Eric, do you agree or disagree?
It's just hard to say. Like, I understand that logic. And since he is capable of taking such a high percentage of the snap shares, I think S tier is fair. But let's say there's a scenario where he takes 75 less snaps this year in the regular season and they really try to mix in these other guys more, then it's probably closer to an A, just averaging that out across the year. What
about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I as much as I love Saquon, I have to put it in A. We're looking at the room as a whole, and
you just told me that you put the tackles in the S tier because of the 2 starters. So it's not, so it wasn't the whole room for the tackles. Now it's the whole room for the backs.
No, well, first of all, no, I didn't say that. I obviously focused on the starters because they are amazing, but I also mentioned the people behind them. So thank you. Maybe pay attention more, Rob.
They're unproven. Everyone's unproven.
You're unproven. You know that? You're unproven.
I'm very proven.
No, you're not.
See, Ryan gets mad and just yells insults at me when he knows I'm right, but that's all right. Keep going.
Listen. The running back room, you need to have more than just one person. Same with every other position, honestly. But the drop off is real. A.J. Dillon basically broke his neck, and we have no idea what he is. Yeah, Will Shipley. That's cute that he can, bench press or leg press 500 pounds, but the dude has no breakaway speed, and he's not going to be given a lot of
so
opportunities.
you can't have a drop off. Jordan Mailata to Miles Hitton.
I think Kendall Lamb could come in there and start right now.
And let me see. Wait. Where are we at? Lane Johnson. You think Kendall Lamb is not a huge drop off from Lane Johnson or Jordan
I'm
Mailata?
not saying it's not necessarily a huge drop off because he's
using
so
your words.
good.
I'm
He's
using
so
your
good.
words.
But Lamb can easily be a starter in the NFL. AJ Dillon and Shipley are not starters in the NFL.
Dives, write this wrong, Dives. Dives, write this wrong.
You're silly if you think so.
I could kind of give a counter argument for Ryan, which is say one of those guys goes down. Well, you still have a all-pro tackle and a backup versus Saquon goes down and you just go straight off a cliff to Dillon.
It really, I think I'm more of an A tier, mostly because I don't know who that third down back is going to be. Who's that pass protector? Who's going to be picking up those blitzes? Sorry, Ryan. Kenny Gainwell was fine last year. I'm going to throw BBS in this group, and I think he's like the low key wild card at this position as a guy that can, lead the way for Saquon, but also I feel like there's a lot more he can provide on offense. Now that he's on offense for training camp, I'm excited to see what he can do, and hopefully that means more under center and different things with BVS, because when we saw him with Saquon, they were dominant. So I'm going to stick with an A. The wild card I'm thinking is Montrell Johnson Jr. And when you look at, who's the better pass protector between AJ Dillon and Will Shipley and Montrell Johnson Jr., I think it's up for grabs, quite honestly. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
It's not Shipley.
It's not Shipley, for sure. So, yeah. And we don't know what AJ Dillon, his status is. He's not making a lot of money. He could be cut. You don't know.
Sure.
All right. So I think we're going to settle with an A. Is that cool?
That works.
All right. Ryan, throw it to you next, man. Do you have an S tier?
No, I do not.
No? All right. I'll throw it to you, Eric. We'll go around the horn again. Do you have an S tier?
No.
Rob?
Nope.
All right. Let's move on to A. Go ahead, Eric. Do you have an A tier?
Okay. Interior defensive line.
Nice.
This kind of plays in with my narrative, which is yet to come out, about Moro Ojomo being a potentially amazing player. I pretty much have given away the secret by now. So you obviously have Carter, one of the best in the game, paired with Ojoma. Davis on early downs, one of the best run stuffers in the game. After that, the depth is questionable. Ty Robinson, I have high hopes for, but I don't consider him necessarily an impact player, especially in year one. So that's a solid A tier for me. The main concern is they might not have enough beef in the run game against like some of these heavy personnel teams that have like strong guards. So that would be a one small knock against them.
All right. A tier.
Oh, one other thing. I got one other thing I want to add in is Fangio likes to play this gap and a half technique where you are trying to control multiple gaps. And frankly, Carter and Ojomo are both better at penetrating. So there's a little bit of a mismatch. Now they'll make it work because they're both great players, but I thought it's worth noting.
All right. Rob, do you agree or disagree? A tier for the defensive tackle position.
Yeah, I've been a little higher on this room. I very much like Eric. I'm higher on Moro Ojomo than most. I think we've seen quite a bit from him over the last year or so. Yeah, obviously Jalen Carter is maybe one of the best defensive players in the game. You still have Jordan Davis, who they did pick up the 5th-year option on. So there is a plan to keep Jordan Davis here. So I guess they saw enough to, say, hey, we want to keep him in the loop for the next couple of years. And then Ty Robinson, obviously not going to be a world beater in his first year, but can contribute, I think, and I think will contribute. I think he will get on the field from time to time in certain situations. So I like this room a lot. And I think it definitely is an A.
Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely an A. I like what Jordan Davis brings to the run game. I like the fact that Moro Ojomo is gonna finally get his chance to really shine. And I like what they have behind, whether it be Booker, whether it be, Robinson kind of figuring himself out. I do find it interesting they throw him as D end, Moro Ojomo, on this depth chart here. But regardless,
I can add a little information there.
Oh, yeah.
So with the way our lads does it is for teams, like it'll say, you can see base 3-4 under. It will designate the interior defensive line via those positions. So that's why he's labeled D end. If you go to a team that's a 4-3 base, then you'll have the traditional outside edges labeled D end.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. But and obviously Jalen Carter is the best interior defensive lineman in the league. Don't question that. You gotta love this group, and it'll be interesting to see how the replacement of Milton Williams by committee, by Ojomo, by whomever, kind of happens, and see where they end up. At the end of the year, and hope that they were able to kind of maintain their status, because this has been a great group of guys. So A tier for me.
Yeah, I like the group a lot. I'm good with the A tier. I like the versatility in the back. Like Thomas Booker, I think is solid. Byron Young hasn't really shown us a lot, but there's a reason the Eagles have held on to him. We'll see about that. So we'll see. I'm good with A tier. I'm really high on Ty Robinson. I think that guy and his versatility, whether that's on the interior or on the outside, I think he can set the edge. I think he can rush the passer. I'm really intrigued to see how they utilize him. He's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. All right, let's roll on to our next position. And we are at, I think, Ryan?
Are we? I don't know.
I don't know. Ryan, do you have an A tier?
Yes, I do. And I'm gonna go with wide receiver.
Yes.
AJ Brown, Smitty are the best 1-2 combination in all of football. And listen, you can argue with me and all night long. You're not going to convince me otherwise. You have Dotson, who is, again, was kind of figuring himself out a lot, trying to fit into this offense. And listen, everybody wants to say, third-round pick. Well, Cowboys got Pickens, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, guess what? One of those contributed to a Super Bowl championship this year. And then his name is not Pickens. So, I mean, the rest of the guys there, obviously, there's certainly some unproven. You bring in somebody like Terrace Marshall. You have Anais Smith, Johnny Wilson, second-year guys that have a lot to prove for sure. The rest is, randos, but I kind of like to see the Wilsons, the Smiths of the world, and see what they do in their second year to go along with Dotson, Marshall, and kind of figure out that room. But you can't go wrong when your 1-2 punch is the best in the league.
Rob.
Yeah, look, obviously the 1-2 punch we could talk about the whole time, and that would put him in the A tier in my opinion. But I am, I'm intrigued to see Dotson in year 2, but I got to tell you that the two guys they signed, Terrace Marshall, I think, went to a team where too much was put on his shoulders. They wanted him to be a top wide out there, and that just wasn't going to be him. Well, he doesn't have to do that here. He could come in and be a 3 or a 4 here, and it may work out. Elijah Cooks is a guy that's interesting. I think he's on the smaller side, so I mean, you're not hoping, but like if one of those two guys can somewhat hit, if one of Anaya Smith and Johnny Wilson can take the second-year leap, you know, I think that this room is actually a little bit better than we thought, and it's deep in the sense that you have a lot of bodies to look at camp to go along with the three that you know are going to be there. And, you know, I mean, look, Anaya Smith's going to have a shot this year. You know what I mean? I mean, this was a guy that I think a lot of people, you know, were curious to see, and then he got hurt at the beginning of training camp. He's going to have a shot against Johnny Wilson. I think, like I said, Terrace Marshall and Jahan Dotson got a shot to get that third receiver role. So I think this is a strong A for this team.
A tier, agree or disagree, Eric?
I agree. The one name that no one brought up was Danny Gray. I look at this roster and I actually think he might be the third best because Dotson is a better player. I'm not disputing that. But for the Eagles, I think a guy who's a burner serves a bigger purpose than an intermediate, small, quick guy like Dotson. So I would give him probably the fourth spot, Gray.
I'm really intrigued with Johnny Wilson for training camp. He's kind of like my Matisse Thybulle of this Eagles roster. He's a guy
don't ever say that again.
Bro, let me finish. I love his run blocking. I think he's underrated in that facet. I just want some pass catching threat. I just want some of it. If he made me in the slot with his run blocking, I think he's solid.
He made me Nostradamus in one game last year, and I will live off of that for the rest of my life. When I said he would score a touchdown, and lo and behold, he did.
That's the comparison to Matisse Thybulle is his defense was so awesome that he gave you nothing offensively.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying from Johnny Wilson. I just want something. Maybe I don't like him that much on the outside. I like him more in the slot. We'll see what he looks like during training camp. All right. A's all around for wide receiver. Let's roll on to Rob. Rob, do you have any other A tiers?
It's tough. There's a couple right on that border of AB for me. I'm gonna save them. I don't know if I'd give another A tier out.
But
to
Dives, is it
as a whole?
Is it too late to add a B plus tier?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So what I'll do for those, dude, is I'll put them in the middle.
Oh, perfect.
Nice. I'll do something like that. All right. So no A tiers for Rob. Ryan, do you have an A tier?
I just went. You're gonna ask Eric, and then you're gonna.
Eric, do you have an A tier?
Linebacker.
Interesting.
Jahad Campbell, if he starts the season, I think you have an all-pro and then a future all-pro next to each other. That's an easy A tier. The depth after that's pretty bad. I actually wish they kept Van Sumeren kind of in still training with the linebackers, just do both duties. Because I actually think he could offer some good depth there, but who knows with Nakobe seems like a big question mark at this point, and I don't think Trotter's good in general. So the Mondon, he's a complete developmental guy. So I think if he becomes good, it'll take 2-3 years probably. So yeah, depth is thin, but those top two are studs.
The chess piece nature of Bond and Campbell is just so fascinating. So fascinating. Rob, do you agree? A tier?
See, I would have. They were one of my kind of in the middle there because of exactly what Eric said about the depth. I mean, where Zach Bond has obviously had a great year last year, and you're expecting even more this year. Jahad Campbell has the potential to be tremendous, but we just don't know yet. We just haven't seen it yet on a pro field. And then after that, if Nakobe Dean's not in, is Trot and Smail Munden your next two in, and are they ready for that sort of a role? Where they might have to come in a pinch. That's why I kind of lean more towards B. But like I said, they were one of my couple position that I kind of was teetering in between.
You know what? This would have been an S tier if they had re-signed Oren Burks. That's how I feel. Ryan,
that's their depth. Yeah.
That's a wild statement.
No, if they had Oren Burks to fill in for
Solid
Campbell,
at that point.
Listen, I would feel. Listen.
I agree.
As somebody who loves linebackers more than
You do?
Yeah, I know. Shocking. And listen, I loved what Oren Burks did for us in the playoffs for sure. And yes, his depth would have been absolutely amazing to have, especially with the injuries that we have with Dean, the uncertainty with Campbell, and the injury history of Smell London. But listen, we don't know what we're going to get with Jahad Campbell. I know he's a first-round pick, but guess what? Not every first-round pick immediately comes out and is an all-pro. It takes sometimes people to a little bit to figure it out. Nolan Smith Jr., perfect example. Dude was kind of a little bit of a bust, couldn't get on the field. Took him a little bit to get there. What I'm saying is that's why I'm actually agreeing with Rob that I kind of had them in the B+ tier. Not quite A, not quite B, because of the uncertainty that we're getting. And I know we have Zach Bond, but also I'm going to be honest and keep it 100 with you guys. I am a little fearful of a little drop for Zach Bond because I thought he was so over expectation.
Fair.
That he might come down to earth a little bit and still be a great linebacker. Don't get me wrong, but not that all-pro, almost winning defensive MVP type of Zach.
I fully disagree, and I think there's other players on this defense that probably take a step back, and they're not named Zach Bond. And I'm going A tier.
I just said I was a little fearful of it. That's all.
I think this is a solid A, and I think again the duo of Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell is just sensational, and exactly what's going to make Vic Fangio's defense top 5 in the NFL next year. I'm good with A tier, which means I think we're going to keep it at B+. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Does anybody else have any other A tiers?
Yes, I do.
Do it, Ryan.
I'm going corner. I got to do it. I listen, the fact of the matter is you have one of the youngest defenses in all of football, and 2 of them were practically, both of them should have won rookie defensive player of the years. They absolutely shined. You have, yes, you lost a couple of veterans, but you get back, Adoree Jackson. You have players like Keely Ringo who have been in this system for what it seems like forever, and the dude's like, 16 years old. I feel like. He's young as hell still. He's been here for forever. You bring in, like I said, a veteran in Adoree to kind of, bridge that gap, so to speak. You have, other players that Mac McWilliams, we don't know what we're getting with him. You have Eli Ricks, who's still here. So I feel like you have a lot of young, but players that have been here for a while. That's good depth. That can figure out this, CB2 that everybody's a little worried about, and provide depth when you also have 2 insanely ascending players in Coop DeJean and Q. So I think this year they're going to take an even bigger step, and I think that's why you have them, or I have them at an A tier.
All right, Eric, A tier for cornerback. Agree or disagree?
Well, with corner specifically, you're kind of as good as your weakest link. In this case, we can point at Ringo. And I agree. The top 2 guys are amazing. But yeah, I'm going to say B+ because I think Ringo projects as an average starter and he's going to see a ton of targets. So that's naturally.
We lose you, Eric?
Yes.
Ryan purposely muted him.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hold on. Was there a dog breathing in the microphone? Was that what it was?
Uh-oh. We're losing.
We lost him again.
No.
We got you.
So, yeah, basically, I think B plus just because Ringo is average and we'll see a lot of targets.
Rob.
I can't give an A tier when we're still in a competition for the second outside starting cornerback. We all think it's going to be Keeley. I think we all are on board that it's Keeley's job to lose. But I find it hard to give a position group an A when we don't even know for sure yet what that starting look like. And if it is Keeley Ringo, you're talking about going from an perennial All-Pro in Darius Slay to a young guy who has to prove it still in Keeley Ringo. I'm not saying it's a bad position group because, like Ryan said, with Q and Coop, that's a phenomenal start to this whole thing. But then after that, we're talking about, is it Keeley or Dory on the outside, and then what? For me, it's a B tier. Look, if we were going based off of what could it potentially be, then yeah, but we're not. We're doing it what it looks like right now. So for me, when I look at the cornerback room, I see a B tier cornerback room.
So real quick, let me recap here. So again, because of the uncertainty of who the other outside starter is, that's why you're putting it at B. What about linebacker? Dean's not going to be there. Jihad might not be there. He might not be there for the start of the season. What are you going to do then when you don't know who your starter is outside of Zach Bond?
Hey, jackass! I didn't put linebacker today, you dummy.
I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
We're putting them higher. You're putting them higher. Linebacker higher.
I put him in the B tier, the same exact tier. What the hell are you talking about? Are you drunk?
You put B plus.
Listen, I'm a teacher. Guess what? Big hint for you. There is no goddamn difference, okay?
I'm just saying. Just trying to make my case. That's all.
And it's a terrible one.
I'm in agreement. I think it's a B tier for me personally. I think Q and Coop are obviously terrific. I think one of the low-key important storylines of this offseason was Vic Fangio saying that Coop is going to stick at nickel, which I'm a big fan of. I want to see more of that. This talk about him going to the outside was a little concerning, but there is some depth concerns. I'm not high on Eli Ricks. I'm not high on some of these other guys. Tariq Castro-Fields, Mac McWilliams. Not sure what we got there. Is he more of a developmental guy? Most likely. And I'm not the biggest Keeley Ringo guy. Yeah, he's an elite athlete, and I think he's got all the tools. But when it comes to instincts and things like that, I still think, and I said it a while ago, I think Adoree Jackson is a better fit for the Eagles defense. And I think he's going to win that job. And that's my take. So we'll see. Honestly, it's obviously way more important for Ringo to win that job. That way Adoree can kind of fly around and play different roles. That's going to be a huge, huge battle to watch for training camp. Any thoughts on that, Eric?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, like if you look at last year and even the season before, there are times where their top guys wouldn't start initially and then they kind of phase them in. I could see a scenario where Ringo doesn't start till week 3, but then the rest of the season, I expect him to outsnap Jackson.
Yep.
Let's go.
All right. So what is that? A B plus?
Whatever.
I mean, 2 B's to 1 A and 1 B plus screams B.
I think B plus is perfect.
I think we're going to keep it at B plus. All right. Anybody have any A tiers before we roll on to B? Going once.
I don't know. Maybe Ryan wants to put everybody in the A tier the way he's going tonight.
Yeah, I mean, hell, listen. It's a championship team. Of course.
Going twice.
No.
All right, let's roll on to B. Eric, lead us off. Do you have any B tiers?
QB. I think I would put it at B plus.
Okay.
So Hurts, I mean, I'm on the record many times. I think when you surround him with talent, he's awesome, and he plays his best in his big games. Those are tremendous qualities. Doesn't get phased. But you put him with a bunch of bums, no offensive line, he's not going to be much of a floor raiser, and that's okay. So they've got McKee and McCord behind. That's solid depth. So I think B+ is fair.
I'm totally right there with you. I thought Ryan was going to go A tier at quarterback when he first said it.
He doesn't like Tanner McKee.
That's so true. Rob, where are you at with quarterback?
I'm in full agreement. I think B+ is perfect. I think between Hurts and McKee. I mean, we don't know what we have in McCord at this point, but with Hurts and McKee, I think it's a solid B+. Ryan has to, compose himself over there.
Ryan's still getting over Kenny Pickett getting traded.
Yeah, he can't.
Still hurt by that for sure.
Go Pitt.
Go Pitt.
Go small hands.
Hey, listen. Who was the quarterback at the last second of the Super Bowl? It was Kenny Pickett.
Really, that's your
Kenny
argument
Pickett.
right now?
I mean,
That's
It wasn't Tanner McKee. Wasn't Tanner
He just
McKee.
won 2 games in the regular season.
Wasn't
While Kenny
Tanner
lost.
McKee. Wasn't Tanner McKee.
all right. Ryan, are you good with B+?
Yes. And if anybody doesn't think that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback,
It's stupid.
kick rocks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now you're just hating. You're either racist or you're just a hater, or you hate Philly so much that you can't see past the blinders. There, Chris Sims, you freaking.
Actually, did you hear what Chris Sims said today?
No, oh God, what did he say now?
I actually almost fell out of my chair. He said the Eagles are the greatest constructed team in the century of the 2000s that we've seen. I was like, you are such a dick.
Yeah, you know what? No, I don't accept that. I don't accept it. You take it back. Don't ever say anything nice about us again.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
Any other B tiers? Any B
I got a
tiers?
B tier. I got a B tier, and I know everyone's going to yell at me, but I was going to put corners in the B tier because we just weren't sure about corner 2. But an interior offensive line, you have Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson as your 2 stalwarts, right? They are your 2 stalwarts. These guys are great players. Cam Jurgens just got rewarded. We obviously know about Landon Dickerson getting rewarded. That right guard spot is obviously a question mark, but as we have in the other area, you have a young guy in Tyler Steen who has been around for a couple of years, who we're trying to see if he can win the role. You went out and you traded CJ Gardner-Johnson, which I think still hurts me a little bit. And why am I drawing a blank? Somebody get Kenyon Green, right? Kenyon Green.
I'm drawing a blank with your love with CJ GJ. What?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I'm a vibesman. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm a vibesman.
I will again shockingly agree with Rob here. I'm a big vibesman as well.
Yeah, I'm a vibesman. That's all. It wasn't his play. It's just a vibesman. I'm a vibesman. But Kenyon Green. So you have a couple guys.
Real quick, Rob. Real quick. Yeah. So you like to use people's logic back on them. So were you a Jalen Mills fan? He was a vibes player.
That's a good point because there are 2 guys that thought they were vibes players that I hated, and that was Jalen Mills.
Yeah.
And way back before him, it was Kurt Coleman, who I could have punched in the face.
Yeah.
But neither of them, I think, were as good players as CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Well, true, and I'll also agree that Mills was a fake vibesman.
Yes, he's fake.
He was a very
There's a
fake
difference between true vibesman and fake vibesman.
Yeah, just because you paint your hair green and wag your finger at every little thing that happens doesn't mean you're a vibesman.
I was like Kurt Coleman when he would make a tackle 35 yards down the field and would come up and try and act like he was Brian Dawkins.
Yeah.
I wanted to murder him.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to my point. I put this tier in the B mainly because of those 2 stalwarts, and I think you have bodies that one guy is going to be able to fill that right guard role and be okay there.
Ryan, are you good with B tier?
No, I'm going B+.
Okay.
2 out of 3 are studs.
Yeah. We were asked about B tier. We had skipped past B+. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, well, no. Listen, I feel like we were allowed to.
You just make up rules as you go.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, I learned it from guidance. Okay. You're welcome. Listen, yeah, you have 2 out of the 3 guys are Pro Bowl caliber players. Landon Dickerson is a massive human being, and Cam absolutely. I feel like both of them are pretty good vibesmen as well. But I will say everybody's kind of unsure about Steen. But every time I tried to say anything negative about him, man, people would jump all over me. And I always was like, hey, listen, there's a reason why he wasn't the starter last year, right? I'm hoping that I will be proven wrong this year. He's finally been sitting there in Stoutland U for a few years, and now he can come in to his role. He has Cam to his left. He has Lane to his right, and can come in and be fine. And that's all that you need. And you have somebody, a potential fixer-upper in Kenyon Green, who was a first-round pick that, hey, listen, yeah, you know what? He hasn't put anything good on tape. He has been atrocious. But maybe Houston's offensive line coach sucks at his job.
And it's not Jeff Stoutland.
So I have hopes that he can improve Kenyon Green in that way. You also have Trevor Keegan, who's been sitting there for a year, learning, watching. He's a Michigan guy. He's a champion. He knows what's the deal is. So I'm pretty happy about him as well. And then you throw Matt Pryor again, who's a guy who can play anywhere. I'm super happy with the depth at guard. So I think this is a B+ tier.
B for B+ for Ryan. What about you, Eric?
I got a B. You got one All-Pro, but one of the things is he has durability concerns, and then anyone can win the back or the second guard spot, and they don't project to be an above-average player, whoever that is. So I think B tier is fair. The depth looks solid.
Pop quiz.
Lazy.
Pop quiz. Who's the backup right guard for the Eagles after training camp? Rob.
Backup right guard after training camp?
Right guard. Yeah, who's the guy that steps up and plays that role? Because we don't want Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens running around playing different roles. I don't want to go through that again.
To be honest with you, I got this weird feeling that Green's going to win the role and Steen's going to be your backup.
I think it's Drew Kendall. For sure. What are your thoughts?
Be. I mean, I think Drew Kendall's here to make sure that if a center gets hurt, they don't have to do what they did in the playoffs. They can bring Drew Kendall in to back up the center. But I see where your mindset's coming from. I can understand that line of thinking. But I think Kenyon Green's going to win the job, and Tyler Steen's going to be your swing guard again, like he's done in the past.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts before we roll on? All right. Let's roll on.
I don't want to talk about it, guys.
What?
None of them wanted to talk about it.
No. All right. We're going to keep interior O-line at B.
Meh.
Anybody else have any other B tiers? Going once, going twice.
Tight end.
I'll never win it. I have one, but I'll never win the argument. So I'm not even going to.
Tight end, Eric?
Oh.
Yes. Obviously, Goddard, Pro Bowl level player when healthy, but you're going to penalize them for durability concerns. The sneaky guy here is Harrison Bryant. I think he's kind of a do-it-all, not at a high level, but is adequate in whatever role you ask of him. I think he'll make the 53. I wonder if Calcaterra will be the odd man out, but I do think they will keep 3 tight ends, so that would be my 3. And just because of that upper end talent, that's definitely going to push their grade up. I would give B+ if it wasn't for the near certainty that Goddard will miss, between 7 and 3 games.
Yeah, I'm good with a B. The guy I'm curious about for training camp is Kylan Granson. I believe he's a really good blocker. Maybe he could be the new Jack Stoll on this roster. He's not a good blocker.
No, that's a little bit of PFF bullshit.
Is it? Damn.
Yeah, he came out. It was a skinny guy out of college, basically a pure receiver, detached tight end, And then he had a limited sample size where he had a few good blocks, and they gave him like a ridiculous grade, like in the 70s. But he can't block at all.
Great. Yeah, I'll stick with a B. Anybody else have different?
I can't get myself to say above a C+ here, because of obviously the durability concerns of Dallas Goedert. Look, I'm thrilled he's back because this would have been an F if he wasn't, obviously. But his durability concerns, and then look, Grant Calcaterra is a one-trick pick. You catch, you can't block. These other guys are obviously take a shot at. Maybe one of them sticks. Maybe Harrison Bryant is a good enough player. But right now, where I sit, I just can't. I can't get myself to go higher than a C+ with the tight end room. And the only reason it's a C+ is because Dallas Goedert is your top tight end.
Just do what they did last year. Joel Embiid his ass and get him healthy for the playoffs. So he is absolutely top 3, top 5.
Worked really well for the Sixers.
All right. So we're at, who are we missing? Ryan, what's your grade?
D+.
Whoa!
So angry they didn't draft a tight end.
Yeah,
he is so.
You're right.
Angry.
I am. They do not give one shit about the tight end position. They have Dallas Goedert, and they were like, maybe we'll trade him. Maybe we won't give him a contract. Whatever. Blah 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 blah. So they finally smarten up and at least give him something, right? So you at least have a serviceable NFL tight end. The rest of them, Calcaterra, yeah, great. Hey, throw him 8 balls, he'll make an amazing catch, and he'll let everybody run right by him. The rest of the tight ends, come on, they're absolute nobodies. They're absolute nobodies who couldn't care less if any of them make the team or if they are cut right now and work in the grocery store down the street from me. I wouldn't know them. I wouldn't know to look at them, and I wouldn't care to look at them. I don't want them on my team. I want actual tight ends on this team. And
Ryan is still the JT Sanders is not.
Calcaterra is our second tight end.
Right, you're still mad. JT Sanders is not an Eagle.
Listen, I'm always going to be mad about stuff like that, but I'm not going to hold it against them. I'm really upset that they didn't even think about drafting a tight end this year, especially with Goddard on the trade block heading into the draft. I'm sorry. Listen, yeah, will one of them maybe make the team? Yeah, it might be Harrison Bryant. He's the only one I've actually even freaking heard of. Outside of the other guys, I mean, I just don't understand what they're doing with the tight end position. They just don't care. They just don't care. Goddard was so important to this team, again, when healthy, especially in our run game. And they just clearly don't give a crap. And so I don't give a crap. So I'm giving it a D+.
Damn. All right. I'm going to throw it at C. Anybody have any rebuttals, thoughts on that? Any other C tier positions?
C tier? Yeah, I actually have a C+. And it's going to be a stretch for all of you, and no one's going to agree with me, and it'll end up getting pushed down. But that's okay. I'm still going to do it because that's what we're here for. I would put Edge at C+, and there's a couple reasons why I would put Edge at C+. One, obviously, Nolan Smith kind of came into his own as the year went on last year, so you're expecting that again. 2, Jalix Hunt, looks like a guy. Listen, he came along a lot faster than any of us expected. Nobody expected a thing from this guy last year. Now he's getting sacks in the Super Bowl. That's impressive. I think that one of their better offseason free agency signings was Azeez Ojulari. I think that was a guy that we had talked about targeting him, and then they got him probably cheaper than we thought they would be able to get him. Yeah. And I think he's a guy that can instantly give you, play off the edge. Josh Uche, more of a wild card. We just don't know what's going on with him at this point. But here's the other reason why. And I'm not saying this guy is an edge, but on third down, when it is a passing situation, I firmly expect that you are going to see Vic Fangio unleash Jahad Campbell as a rusher off the edge on passing situations. I firmly believe this is going to happen, and I think Ryan can shake his head all he wants, but it's something you're going to have to get used to because I believe you're going to see a lot of that as the year tends to go on. He's going to start in training camp as an outside or off-ball linebacker. But as the year goes on, I think you're going to see him more and more as a pass rusher on those specific passing situations.
We saw a lot of that with Zach Bond. That's what made the Eagles defense so elite. His ability to get on the line, drop back at the last second, things like that just was things that put offenses in a blender. Eric, where are you at with the Eagles edge group?
Yeah, C+ is fair. They don't have a superstar, and that's obviously would put you into these higher letter grades. And they have a lot of designated pass rushers after that, not necessarily a lot of guys that are run stuffers. It's actually a concern of mine. The thing I will say with the Campbell off the edge thing, I actually think it's not reserved to obvious pass situations. I've been charting some of the Eagles defense from last year, and on second and medium, they would run a lot of these fire zones where if they get a run, now they get an extra guy coming down to like take away gaps. And in these third and long situations, they tended to run cover 4 or man coverage. So I don't necessarily expect him to rush off the edge in the situations, maybe as a blitzer, which they call creeper pressure. If you're coming from the second level on a blitz, that's something I do expect to see quite a bit of.
Ryan?
I think this is a B. I'm really actually liking the potential for this group, especially, where we were at the end of the year, knowing that we were going to be losing Sweat, losing Brandon Graham, and, getting Uche and especially Ojulari, I thought was low risk, high reward type situations. You have an emerging star in Nolan Smith. You have Jalix Hunt, who again is coming into it, finally coming into his own. You draft Antoine Powell-Ryland, who I really did love in the draft here, and I think he's going to fit in really nicely into this group. I honestly, I think this has a potential position to surprise the hell out of everybody. And, again, just kind of like linebackers last year where we were like, I don't know about it. It's all right, whatever. And now we're loving linebackers. I think this could be the same situation where we're like, wow, this edge group absolutely kicked ass this year. And it's 100% the reason why we're in the Super Bowl again.
Ryan, you did have me have an epiphany right there, which is watching back the film on these rundowns. Sometimes they'd stick Ojoma out there on the edge or Ty, and now they could do that with Ty Robinson.
Oh, yeah,
so all of a sudden you've beefed up your fronts, and I actually think they may lean on that in run situations next year.
Yeah, no, they absolutely did. Again, you're losing 3 major key pieces to that line, and I think they did a fantastic job of replacing what they could, adding depth where they could, and adding potential. I think is what the key is for Howie here, and I'm really liking this edge group, the whole line itself. Honestly, you're right, Eric. It's going to be versatile and it's going to be attacking.
All right, we go with C+.
Yeah.
Can we move tight end up to C+? I feel like Ryan artificially dragged the grade down.
Oh man, that's messed up. Can I at least move edge up to B?
No. All right, safety. Eric, where you got safety?
I'm gonna go C+ as well. Blankenship. I just did a brief scouting report on all the Eagles starters. It's going to come out on the Patreon next week for people who are subscribed. But Blankenship, I think, is a very steady safety who can play in the run and pass and will be a big leader and communicator in the secondary. That's going to keep everyone coordinated. Think about it. They have 2 second-year cornerbacks, a guy who's never started in the NFL, and then a rookie across from him. So he has to make sure everyone's on the same page. I think he'll do a good job there. Makuba will have, speed bumps with, tackling and then some complex coverage checks. But once he gets the hang of it, I think he'll really hit the ground running because he's got great eyes and great instincts. So overall, C+ I think is fair.
Just to piggyback off of that, Reed Blankenship, I think, is the oldest one in this group at like 26. Like, Eric, like, what's your like contract extension projection for Reed Blankenship? Do you have any like quick thoughts on that?
I'll have to run the numbers. So I may post something as like a follow-up after this. But I would expect he'd probably want like a 3-year. You'd get an out after 2, and you're probably going to pay him like $8 million. That could be off, so feel free to fact check me on that. I'll follow up on that, but that's kind of my first instinct is around $8 million.
Yeah, he screams like a guy that's next up. What about you, Rob? Are you good with C+ for safety?
Yeah, I'm good with C+ for safety. I think if they try and force it to Sidney Brown as the starter, I think it may go down a little. I always worry when they draft a guy and he's hanging around that they're going to try and force feed it to him first when he's not necessarily the best player at the position. Now look, people might say Sidney Brown is now a full year off of the injury, right? So maybe he's a little bit better, but I don't know. I just think Makuba's a better player all around. I think Makuba is who Vic Fangio wanted. I think Vic Fangio said, I want Andrew Makuba, because think about it. When they made that pick, there were other safeties on the board, Xavier Watts, other guys that people had talked a lot about, and the Eagles chose Makuba. That tells me Vic Fangio said, no, this is the guy that is going to run my system the best. This is who I want. So with the Makuba pickup, obviously, you like the top 2. The depth, we'll see what happens. But I could go C+ here.
Ryan?
I think I want to go C here. And it's mostly because I feel like there needs to be a definitive worst position for the Eagles. And I don't know if I necessarily want to keep it in the same line of tight end and edge. I want to have it a small step bump below it.
Well, you gave tight end a D+.
You're right. I did. And I was out. Listen, I understand I went a little extreme to prove a point. But still, I still think that is our worst position. But still, I'll go safety as well. It's right there.
Yeah, I'm at a C.
I'm not a fan. Listen, I like Blankenship, but let's be honest. How long ago was it when we were praying to God that Reed Blankenship would be our third safety, and now he's our number one by far safety?
I still don't listen. Howie Roseman, and the roster's never complete. I still don't rule anything out at a couple of these positions for Howie to make a move. The Justin Simmons, when I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know how people would feel about it. That's not what I'm trying to get into. But when there's that much smoke around a certain guy, I don't know. Like, it just feels like maybe he's hey, wait till training camp because I'm an older vet. I don't want to, work hard. And I'm not saying I want it, but I'm saying, Howie, he's always looking to make a move here and there. The roster's never set until it's set. You know what I mean? So sure. I wouldn't be surprised they added a safety.
I would hope. Pray to God they also had a tight end too.
I'm not high on Sidney Brown, as we all know.
No.
I think Tristan McCollum would be your starting safety tomorrow. I think Mohsin is interesting. I think
the safety position to F then.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's just how I feel. I just don't think
if that's the case. Then I want to sign Justin Simmons. By the way, I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, we cannot have Tristan McCollum being our starter. I'm sorry.
No. He got kind of picked on when CJGJ went out.
Yeah.
But I'm a C, so we're moving it to a C. Woo! So there it is. Quick reaction to that, Eric. Any thoughts on any of that?
It's actually good that you don't have like one or two position groups completely separated from the rest. It shows that they're a well-balanced team.
Yep.
They're allocating the resources wisely. So it's clearly the best in the NFC East, bordering with the best in the NFC in general. So I'm happy about it. The one tricky thing is like if they were to make a splash move or try to upgrade one position, it's not even clear which it would be. For me, it's still edge, although it's maybe not the worst group. It's the most impactful. So that's maybe where you'd want to add like a higher end talent going forward.
Any other reactions before we?
Yeah, my reaction is we spent about 10 minutes talking about Edge and never once mentioned the $60 million man.
Bryce Huff.
And honestly, if they found a way to get that off of their books and they wanted to sign a veteran, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for
Yeah,
it.
Zadarian Smith
He
is still
can't-
out there.
Yeah, he can't be any worse than he was last year, right?
I don't think I don't know what he is. Like he can't defend the run. He gets
Well, and
blown
I don't
up.
think Vic Fangio thinks he fits what he does. So that's
No,
it.
he's not a fit.
No.
He has to make pretty decent strides to get on the field on early downs, man.
If he does, holy hell, that would be fantastic. But
All right,
we're rooting
there
for
it
him.
is. There is our positional rankings for the Philadelphia Eagles as of May 12th. Let's throw it around the horn. Eric, what do you got going on at the edge? Plugs, time is yours, man.
I have a salary cap 101 episode coming up, and then I've got a Moro Jomo film breakdown, and then I got a brief scouting report on all 22 starters for the Eagles for the Patreon members. So stay tuned.
Awesome, man. Make sure you're subscribed to Eagles Pin Pool. We're all over there, here and there. Rob, final thoughts, plugs, time is yours.
yeah, you can always catch me here at Party on Broad. Eventually, you could catch me on D2A with Ryan. There were 3 times in the last week, me and Ryan said, all right, I'll see you tonight. And tonight turned to the next morning where we both sent a text. We both suck. It happened multiple times.
We are literally the worst human beings in the
Yeah.
history of the world.
I'm also going to put out a Rob's rant or 2 this week. Did I freeze?
No, Dives just totally agrees with my statement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm also going to try and get a Rob's rant or 2 out this week about the NBA draft debacle that they gave the Dallas Mavericks the first pick, some things like that. So stay tuned for all of that. And you can follow me at Philly_Madness.
All right, Ryan, you're up, dude.
First, I would like to say, as much as people are loving the Dallas Cowboys as our first opponent, I'm not that big of a fan. I hate early in division matchups. But I will be nice to be there, raising the banner.
That's what I mean.
And in front of Jerry, I just was, again, hoping. Thank you, hoping for something else. But hey, it's all good. I cannot wait for the schedule to come out on Wednesday. I think if we're able to, trying to do something later that night to kind of go over everything.
Party on Broad road trip this year, fellas?
Yeah, I mean, how we
Absolutely.
gotta have a home game first before we can go on a road trip.
Road games
I
are more
disagree.
fun.
They
Road
really
trips
are.
so much more fun.
They 100% are. I'm praying to God Green Bay is early so I can go to Green Bay this year. That would be nice.
Well,
But
if you go to Green Bay, just know at 10 o'clock, everything shuts down. The town just goes black. It's out of control. I've never seen anything like it in my life, but it was a good time. Great time. Very nice fans.
I'll make
Very
sure
nice
to
fans.
bring some booze and
Yeah.
have some things to do. But so you can obviously follow us here. We'll be breaking down the schedule. Rob and I will. We have about 5,000 D2As to record to recoup.
We
losses.
actually went as far as to set the theme for 3 episodes.
Oh yeah,
and never recorded them.
dead on. Yeah, they were good, and they're still
They were great.
applicable.
Yeah, they still work. They still work.
So we'll do that. Do you think John Gruden will make a difference? I don't understand what that means. Did John Gruden get hired by the Cowboys?
Did he go to the Cowboys?
I don't think he did.
Last time I checked, he was with Barstool.
Yeah, he's having a pretty good
Living the absolute dream. I don't think he's leaving.
No, I don't think he's leaving either. But other than that, please make sure you follow this channel. Please make sure you follow Eagles Pin Pull Network. We got shows coming up tomorrow, Birds of the Round Table. And then obviously Eric, who I guess was just so sick and tired of hearing Rob, had to leave. But his show, The Edge, please check that out. It's a brand new show. It's absolutely fantastic. Yes, head coach. I just saw it. Well, I would definitely.
Wait, what?
I would definitely check that. I don't
What?
have my phone on me, so I have no.
He's using the wrong name. It was what's his face? It was
Jay
not
Gruden?
John Gruden. No, it was the the offensive coordinator. This is gonna drive me nuts.
The offensive coordinator for the
Brian
Cowboys?
Schottenheimer.
Brian
is now the head coach.
Schottenheimer is the head coach.
Yeah, Brian Schottenheimer is
Right.
now the head coach.
Yeah, I was going to say the offensive coordinator is Clayton Adams, but all right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
D plus plus.
That was one of our.
Sean at the buzzer, Marshawn.
Yeah, he was laying in the weeds, just waiting to get one in. But yeah, please make sure you follow all of that as well. And that's all I got.
Make sure you check out Eric's show Thursdays. I think at 7. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
If you're an Eagles fan, that's a must listen every single time. If you like this channel, I've been making some primer, like 3 to 5 minute videos on every position for the Eagles and just quick thoughts and highlights and all 22s. Go check that out. And the Sixers, they got the number 3 pick in the draft. And I've already covered all the guys. Every guy you need to know about the lottery, -1, Colin Morey-Boyles, who I like a lot.
Yeah.
I think I like a guy named Ace. I like having a guy named Ace on the team. I like that.
Yeah.
I think I like Ace.
Okay, Top Gun.
He was my favorite member of Kiss.
So, guys, we will see you tomorrow night for Birds of the Roundtable at Eagles Pin Pool. He is Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. I'm Dives. For Ryan, for Rob, for Eric, for myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay